I thought the Harvard community felt that large corporations, and specifically megastores, were evil. But on Friday, Associate AG and Harvard alum Rachel Brand abruptly left the DOJ to start what she called her dream job at Walmart. Hers was the latest high-profile exit from the department, following a long line of others, including fired Acting Attorney General Sally Yates, fired FBI Director James Comey, and former Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe. Brand's departure also came at a particular moment in history. You see, given that Attorney General Jeff Sessions had already recused himself from pretty much everything, and that Deputy AG Rod Rosenstein would now have to be considered a subject of inquiry himself due to the Nunes memo, if Brand hadn't left, then it likely would have fallen on her as the number 3 in charge at the DOJ to appoint a new special counsel to look into potential malfeasance in the department. And that could have been awkward, given that Brand was also Rosenstein's fellow Harvard ally. So with no associate AG in place, that task would now likely fall to the number 4 in line of succession at the Justice Department, Solicitor General Noel Francisco. And it's likely that he's feeling some pressure, if not from the White House and from Congress, then from the public. At the time of publication, 88% of over 700 respondents to polls on Facebook and Twitter say that Rosenstein, Comey, and McCabe should all face a death penalty prosecution for treason brought by a special counsel. Polls will remain open until Sunday evening. But the FISA scandal revealed by the Nunes memo is not the only sticky situation that Brand and her fellow Harvard alums may be avoiding by leaving the DOJ now. For example, a couple of months ago, federal prosecutors began taking a new look at a complaint filed against Harvard in 2015 over alleged admissions practices that were biased against Asian students. Apparently, that complaint hadn't gotten much consideration during the administration of Harvard law graduate Barack Obama, who the university is now considering naming to its top post. Back then, Rosenstein was the U.S. Attorney for Maryland, and Brand was on the DOJ Privacy and Civil Liberties Board, but they were still both Harvard alums. And the apparent special treatment enjoyed by their Ivy League school, thanks to its influential alum, doesn't end there. For months now, I've been calling for the appointment of a special counsel to investigate the medical kidnapping of Justina Pelletier by Harvard's Boston Children's Hospital. And though the Harvard alum and the DOJ, including Rosenstein, have refused to budge in that direction, a growing number of exposés have now been published, including one by Michelle Malkin, one by Rolling Stone, and the following segment from InfoWars.
The outrageous case of Justina Pelletier should serve as a warning to parents who may be confronted by medical kidnappers and the tentacles of the state antagonizing honest families with cruel consequences.
It's like you fall down into this rabbit hole that you can't get out of.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Luckily, my daughter was over 18, so I was able to say to them, get away from her now.
Tozer's kids, who also have rare diseases, are safe at home. But if the Pelletiers can't sway Judge Joseph Johnson by next week's hearings, they could lose custody of Justina until she's 18. Something Heather hopes her newfound friends won't have to endure.
They were all hoping that they let Justina go home and be with her family. She needs to be home for Christmas. She's already missed Thanksgiving, Mother's Day, Easter. She's missed her birthday. She needs to be home.
Boston Children's Hospital was founded in 1869 by Civil War surgeon Dr. Francis Henry Brown. By 2012, the hospital had been rated for the 23rd year in a row as one of the nation's top hospitals specializing in pediatric care. The hospital's teaching affiliate is none other than the Harvard Medical School. Justina Pelletier's horror began when the doctors and psychologists at Boston Children's Hospital diagnosed her with somatic symptom disorder. She had been previously diagnosed with mitochondrial disease from the Tufts University School of Medicine. An inexperienced Boston Children's Hospital doctor, just 7 months into his internship, was convinced that the pain Justina was experiencing, pain that felt like knives were cutting open her stomach, was all in her mind.
So many people could have said, time out. If Boston Children's is so gung-ho on this diagnosis, yet nobody else believes in it, nobody else is being able to be brought in to contest it. Her Tufts medical people totally blocked out.
Citing a concern for possible medical child abuse with zero evidence, Boston Children's Hospital then requested that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Children and Families take emergency custody of the patient, as Justina's parents and sister were blocked by security guards.
February 14th, Valentine's Day, I went up there with my other daughter, who has mito, and we went to discharge her. And they hemmed and hawed. We were at the main nursing station. And I could see out of each corner of my eye, security guards here, there, everywhere. So I said, this is smelling bad.
At that point, then you are escorted from the building.
We are given by a number of security guards. They escort my wife and my daughter out of the building. And we're given a no trespass. If we ever show up on the property again unauthorized, we will be arrested.
Justina was then made a ward of the state of Massachusetts.
She went from a healthy as could be young lady to a person now in a wheelchair, pretty much paralyzed below the hips, almost no physical strength above the hips. She has been totally medically abused. She had tachycardia, medically diagnosed, was on metoprolol for that. Since she's been at Boston Children's through DCF custody, she's been off that, so she's had a heart rate of anywhere from 100 to 152, medically verified. Number two, she had a cecostomy tube placed into her colon so she can go to the bathroom for neuropathy of the colon. And when you're a mitochondrial patient, you're more sensitive to your nerves, kind of like somebody with fibromyalgia. So she was taking Lyrica to deaden the nerve pain. So she's been in severe pain nonstop, 24 hours a day for 13 months.
All I really want to be with is with my family and my friends, and that's all I want is just to be with my family and friends.
Justina was held in Boston Children's Hospital's psychiatric ward, Bader 5, from February 14th, 2013 until January 2014. She was transferred to Wayside Youth and Family Support Network, a residential treatment center. Justina was literally being treated worse than prisoners in Massachusetts. It was then that the computer security expert and powerful activist fighting for the human rights of institutionalized children, Martin Gottsfeld, launched a cyber attack on Boston Children's Hospital for several days, reportedly costing the hospital upwards of $300,000 and mitigation fees of $300,000.
On April 17, 2014, 14 months into their saga with Boston Children's, Justina's family published one of the notes she had smuggled to them hidden in origami, saying staff heard her all the time, deprived her of sleep, and more. In it, she asked people to please hurry. I saw her plea, and 3 days later, after months of other efforts to free Justina, Harvard-affiliated federal prosecutors say I defended her life by single-handedly knocking the $2 billion Harvard-affiliated hospital off the internet during its largest annual online fundraiser, costing Justina's torturers over $500,000 of the ill-gotten dollars they pocketed from Medicaid for paralyzing and nearly killing her. I showed the Harvard Pediatric Teaching Hospital, which receives more federal funding than any other, some $225 million annually, that they were still accountable for their actions, even if they have every court, every state and federal agency in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in their back pocket. I reminded them that no amount of other good work could justify torturing a single child, and that Justina and her family weren't defenseless.
Martin faces up to 15 years in prison and is currently weeks into a hunger strike. However, Martin's noble deed did have the intended effect and brought the attention Justina needed. Finally, on June 17, 2014, the same Massachusetts judge who issued the initial ruling dismissed the case against her parents and returned Justina to her family. Aside from the horror Justina and her family suffered and the costly lengths it took for Martin Gottsfeld to reveal the ugly truth, gradually it became abundantly clear due to Justina's maltreatment that wards of the state are essentially guinea pigs. Any ward of the state is subject to research being performed upon them without their consent, even if that research is not primarily for the ward's benefit.
That must have been very scary for you, Justina. I can't imagine.
It was very scary. I had, No one was on my side there. No one believed me there. Everyone thought I was faking all this medical stuff. They stopped all my medicine. And
when they stopped your medicine, your condition started going downhill.
Yes.
So instead of getting stronger, which is why people go to the doctor in the hospital, you went from being a figure skater to being in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
John Bound reporting for Infowars.com.
Let's go to Debit in Florida. Debit in Florida, you're on the air.
Great. Hey, thank you so much. Listen, I have bought your product, and I gotta say they're amazing. Anyone who's on the fence, buy it, because I've got Caveman, Superman Vitality, Secret 12, Vitamin Mineral Fusion. I've got the body armor.
Wow, thank you.
Wow.
You're the type of listener that makes it all possible. Which nutraceutical does you like best?
I really like the Vitamin Mineral Fusion, to be honest. That's
amazing.
Really incredible. I drank it in the morning, and I swear to you, I felt incredible. Like I haven't felt in a week. My morning was fantastic, and I love you guys. I love the InfoWars crew, and I just want to, I want to take this opportunity to tell anybody out there who's on the fence, just buy it. You will love it. I'm telling you, I've never bought a bad product.
What you find in our news is the same thing you find in our products at InfoWarsLife.com. It's a win-win. InfoWarsLife.com.
So with public pressure building, Adam Bookbinder, the Harvard alum who had been immorally prosecuting me for defending Justina's life, quietly quit his DOJ job as the chief of the cybercrime division in Boston and joined the private sector firm of Holland and Knight. He did so during the recent news maelstrom in between the State of the Union address and the release of the Nunes memo, which helped keep his move quiet. His desire for a low-key departure was understandable since our last hearing together and his subsequent formal withdrawal from the case had both been quite loud. Holland and Knight did not return a request for comment prior to publication as to whether or not it was aware of the binder's recent past. Now, I wonder, with all that's coming out, what else may we soon learn about Harvard and its alum formerly in the DOJ? And given that Brand is now at Walmart, does Rosenstein know how to work the fileator?